All right, so we are now live. If somebody wants to pull up YouTube, they can make sure that there's audio, but I'm pretty sure it works now. So, yeah. That was the best. All right, I don't need that one. And apparently I have two front-end mentor open. If you go to Dev Island, the Dev Island channel. I don't know if you can search Dev Island channel.
A lot of Pokemon stuff comes up.
Really? Your videos, something went wrong. Okay. You found it? Perfect. And can you hear us? There it is. Now close it because I don't like my voice.
Nobody likes their voice. Nobody likes your voice.
Everyone hates your voice. And the truth comes out. All right. So, close this one and go live with this. All right, so we have our calculator. Everybody open up your calculator. So we're all going to work on the calculator together.
Looks so much better. It's embarrassing.
This looks better than what?
On our computers.
Oh, yeah. You like the colors better?
Yeah.
No. You could always change the colors to look like that.
But it's the same color.
No, just looks better there. It's a different color, definitely a different color. This is much darker. All right, so what we're going to do is rewrite all of this, well, most of this script so that it can be a calculator class. So we're going to create object-oriented programming with just the calculator stuff. Okay, so we're going to leave the theme stuff as is. And we're also not going to do any selections within the, it's going to just expect that you pass it all the keys. And it's going to accept a few different types of keys. And it's going to accept a function for rendering. Okay, so first what we'll do is we'll create a new file. Well, we're going to create a directory here called scripts that we can put our JavaScript in. And I'm going to create an index.js inside of it, as well as a calculator.js. Okay, make sure your scripts folder is in the root and not inside of another folder, like your design or images or styles. Best way to do that is to click, if you hover over, you'll see all these and you click the little, that guy, and then click outside of anything so it's around this circle or that square, and then hit new folder. Okay, so once it's open, we will go into the index.js, or we're going to take everything from our script.js and we're going to take parts of it. So I'm going to take the selectors and copy them, and then I'm going to paste them inside of the index.js. Okay, I'm going to scroll to the bottom and get, I want the theme select still. I'm going to do the theme selector. I'm going to do the for each on the theme selector. I don't want any of these or any of those. I think that's it.
Did you copy two at once? Or like one after the other? Or did you paste them?
I pasted all these. Yeah.
Is that an option?
Yes, you can do that if you get a clipboard manager. So, so I have one that's called Clipboard History. I know that one I had to pay like $10 for. There are some free ones, but then if I click Command Shift or Command Option V, then the last 50 things that I copied are still in history. And so I'll often go copy a bunch of stuff and then go paste it all in. So yep, just those things go into the index.js. Are you in your
Well,
calculator?
I messed up. I was looking for it and then I had it up, but there was so many other things connected to it
Mm-hmm.
that I tried to get it out and I just totally messed up. Alright, so let me. See, like, see, I need to go in and fix my file because see, it's here, right?
Yeah,
And when I bring it over,
just click it. No, so you brought it over and then you also clicked open.
yeah,
So you had brought more than you wanted.
okay.
So go up to File, Open Recent, and just that one right there, top one. Sorry, not the top one.
Okay.
Close that one. Go up to File, Open Recent, and go to the second one. And then click on, if you hover over this, and then click the minus. Okay, so now you have all of it. So you need to just create a new folder.
Where did he get this? Oh my god.
Scripts.
That's it?
And then inside create an index.js
Okay.
file. And then a calculator.js.
Index.js, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then calculator.js.
Okay.
You know, I'm always disappointed with the single serving bottle.
Yeah.
Can you 25 servings? Oh, last minute.
So then open your script.js file that's down at the bottom probably. And go to the top. Copy all of the selectors, put them in the index.js.
Okay.
Then find your handle theme select function and copy it in.
So all the selector first, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah,
And put it in my
Index.js.
index.js, yeah. Okay, and you said what's the other one?
So at the bottom, the theme, the handler for the theme, and then also the function handle theme select.
Okay. Thing and
One day I'll pickle something.
One day. I'm gonna make some kind of juice or something.
Did you watch the
Hit later on that pop up.
Is it as good as sausage
Yeah.
butter?
Hold shift and just click right here.
oh,
Yeah, just
yeah, I could have just done it from there.
Uh-huh.
That is an American people.
Just pick any button and say,
I've seen that. Yes.
Oh, yes.
there we go.
That is,
Okay.
that's the
You put that there too as well?
best
Index, yeah.
Delicious.
Here. Okay.
Okay, and then go back to script and find the event listener for your theme options one,
Okay.
and copy and paste that one in. Okay, so everybody's got. Let me make this bigger. Just close the. Well, so we can leave that open, but. So everybody has the selectors, the theme handle theme select, and then the event listener for the theme options, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to recreate all of our functions for calculator.js. And we're going to go to our index HTML and change our script to point at our new index. Okay. So first we'll say, go to that line where you're pulling in script.js in your HTML file at the bottom. And we're just going to replace the source to be scripts index.js. Okay. Once you do that, your theme selector should work, but your calculator should be broken.
Both are true.
Okay. Calculator broken is good. Theme selector broken is bad. Okay. So now we're going to go to calculator.js and we're going to create the calculator class. Okay. So how do we create a class? Use class calculator open. Okay. And the first function we want to create is our constructor. Okay, pull this over here. Just looking at our old code, we're going to need to handle different keys. So we need number keys, operator keys, delete key, reset, and equals. And we don't want the calculator to do the selectors, but it needs to have access to them so it can add the event listeners, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to accept those. So I'm going to say we're going to accept an object here as opposed to just a list of parameters. And that way we can put those parameters in any order we want, as long as they match the key value. Does that make sense? So typically we've been used to just a list of things and you separate it by commas like this. But in this one, we're going to do an object, so a single object. This is the first parameter. If I wanted to do another parameter, I could be like, and this, and type, and whatever, right? Or I can create an object here, and inside the object, I can say number keys, comma, and then I can say operator keys, and I can say delete key, and I can say reset key and equals key. Okay, so I get all the keys, and then the other thing I want is a renderer, and this is going to be a function that renders that is going to care about what the values are. Okay. All right, and then inside of here, I'm going to say this dot number keys equals number keys, and we're going to do that for each of those. Okay, so this dot operator keys equals operator keys. Why am I doing this? Anybody remember?
This puts it within the class.
Okay.
So it would be in the class is equal to the outside of the class?
Yeah, so I'm allowing somebody to pass it in here, and then I'm setting it on the class so that whatever other methods I create within my class can access those things, right? They can't access it because it was passed into the constructor, but they can once I set it to the class within the constructor. Okay? Okay, and I could have done this without the object and just done a list of them, and they would have been pretty much the same thing, but then I'd have to remember what the order was. right? So I'd have to put these all in the same order. Whereas when I call the calculator, I won't have to actually care what the order is. I can just put names on them so that it's always assigning the right variable to the right variable name. Does that make sense? Kind of. You'll see in a minute when we actually call it what it looks like, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, maybe. And if you don't, then let me know. So we need you to go, oh, okay.
Do we come on?
Yes.
Lights turn on?
Yes. Speaking of the lights, should we turn on the lights? Okay, good. Me too. I like the dark. Perfect. All right. So we have all of our stuff coming in. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to create a function that will initialize our calculator. So we're going to say init. Okay. This can be whatever we want. Maybe we call this something different than init, like setup events or setup calculator or start things off the right way. Init's a good name. So init. So init is a typical name. It stands for initialize.
It doesn't mean this.
No, it means initialize. That's why you have git init. You're initializing a new repository when you run git init. Okay? All right. So in our init function, we're going to do all of these event listeners. So because I don't like to type, typing's for suckers, I'm going to copy those and paste them. And then I don't have to retype them all.
All of the event listeners?
Yes. Except for the theme options one. Now, the real question is, why is this broken? It's immediately
Because you
broken.
haven't just the calculator. Or link the calculator to JS. Or the HTML.
If I did link it, it would be broken.
Ah.
There's two reasons. Well, one, I haven't actually created any of the methods that it's assigning these to. So that's one reason. But even if I created all those methods, it'd still be broken because inside the class, anytime I use any of these variables, they're always on this. I don't have access to them unless I call them off of this, right? So all of these need this, okay? And it will still be broken because these functions will all also exist on this, okay? All the methods that we're going to call that are supposed to exist on the class would need this. So if they existed outside somewhere else, then we could call them. But right now they don't. Right now they don't exist at all. But they're going to exist inside of our class, so they need to have this. And we're also going to make them all private. So we're going to add a hashtag after this on all of the functions, or on the methods. Okay. We don't want people accessing any of these functions because they don't need them.
All the information is a power move.
What?
The whole information is a power move.
It's true.
For sure.
We're going to do it inside the class because we're classes. It's also a power move. Maybe. All right. Okay, so now we also need to create all these functions, right? Or all these methods. Handle number. And handle operator. And handle delete. And handle reset, and go equals
See the one for my operating key, so I'm just gonna type it over.
what?
Themes are so bad.
Names?
Themes.
Themes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't think we have them completely correct, right? The purple, definitely the purple one's bad. It's not right.
Yeah.
This isn't right. We needed to fix some stuff with the theme selector. So this one's okay, I think.
I just don't like the white.
This?
No, the palette green.
Oh, this? I can't remember if those were supposed to be black. We'd have to look at the. Oh, yeah, I didn't do those ones. So,
The purple would be fine if it wasn't red.
well, I think these are supposed to be a different color. I can't remember if they were purple or they were maybe this dark purple. I don't remember. You know, in case you hate the first thing.
Just JavaScript.
You know how we all split it, we gotta have our calculator the right color, or else we can't
I can't be
calculate.
expected to do math in purple.
Yeah, right?
Get it? Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Is everybody at this point? Almost?
Where is it? Is it just because you don't have a space? I can't be there. Oh, where's your this? This one, this. Yeah, I have it twice.
So you're in GUI now.
What?
Your tech, I mean, your CS type is GUI? Is it GUI?
Oh. This?
Your, no, not, your lettering, whatever you call it, font.
Yes.
GUI, yeah.
Yes.
I think mine's the same, like, mine's the same as yours.
Let me see.
I like your purples and your off pinks.
Yes, I'm using GUI right
Oh,
now.
okay. That's crazy because my colors are different, so I thought it was easy. I'll fix that later.
I don't think I did anything specific to make
You
it
said
better.
mine's the GUI, so that's why I'm just surprised.
It may be because I think your methods are outside of the class. I don't see the class ending. Scroll up.
It's been like that though. It's not the only time I recognized it before. That my colors are different than yours.
Well,
Could
it's
be.
right there. It's there.
Yeah, it's there. They're always there. But it's been like that. It's been white, but yours has been pink, mine has been white. And I'm like, wow, I like pink.
I don't
Bring me
know.
back. This
Maybe it's an update.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Or how yours had the
And plus my
update.
letters are slightly, yeah. Yeah, maybe
Because I don't remember it being purple in the past, so.
Oh, okay.
But I think I have updated my.
Yeah, and I didn't have my thing yet, so
Yeah.
I will, when I get a chance. Okay. All right. What's next?
All right.
Is
So
that-
do you have something wrong on the class? Oh, so yours is your class is like
Purple. Why you cry about the color of my text?
So you just need to approve the rest of the bottom.
On the bottom.
I love that. Curly braces, I hate you.
have lights?
And you're wearing a hoodie. Press shift. I love
Huh?
I didn't know that was keyboard light.
Keyboard light, yes.
it.
You can
Okay.
turn it up and down.
And number.
All right, so everybody's got this, but if you go and you try, nothing happens, right? Even if I put console log in here for handling the number was clicked. Maybe I check the event and say event. Okay, now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna click a button. Let me get rid of this. And nothing happens. Okay. Why? Because the thing Christian said earlier, we haven't actually hooked this in the calculator.js, right? We hooked our index.js up, but not our calculator.js. So there's two ways we could do this. One would be in index.html, we could add another script tag, but then you have to do it in the right order. You end up having a whole list of script tags as you add more and more JavaScript files. So what we're going to do is index.js is the only one we're going to add, but we're going to add a type here. So we're going to say type equals module. Okay, and this tells it that this can have other, it can use the module syntax, okay? So in our index.js, what we can, or in our calculator.js, what we can do is on our class, we can say export. Remember this from your tutorial?
Yep.
Export class calculator, okay?
First
So this
check.
does a named export. The other thing we could do, instead of export class calculator, at the bottom we could say export default calculator. Okay, and this would be our default export instead of our named one. I prefer named ones, but I'll show you how to import both of them, because depending on what you use, sometimes you'll get named, sometimes you'll get defaults. So I'm going to leave it as a named one for now. And it's like a preference thing.
And didn't you just one of those? Or
Just one, yep. So I deleted the other one. So export class, okay, then we're going to come into our index.js, and at the very top is where you do all your imports. So we're going to say import. So if it was a default export, we could just put whatever we want here, because whatever the default one would be what we get. We can name it whatever we want. But if it's a named export, then you do curly braces and the name of the export. And you'll notice it just finished it for me as I was typing cal. It knew. The only thing is, because we don't have a module builder system, we're just using the type module. At the end of calculator, you have to say it's a .js file. Okay? But VS Code is used to, you're using some sort of builder, like Webpack or Rollup or something like that. There's a different tool sets that we'll learn that will help with this. And you don't have to use the .js when you're using a builder. Okay? So for this project, we'll need it. So now we have our calculator class. Okay? And under here, we can now create our calculator. So we're going to say const calculator equals new calculator. Okay, and then as we click this, or as we type that, we're going to see all of our parameters that it needs us to send in, and their types. So right now their types are unknown because we're in JavaScript, not TypeScript, but you'll see this all the time. And eventually we'll learn a little TypeScript so that you can create your own types, and then people will know number keys should be an array of elements, right? So, but right now we just kind of have to guess. But we know what it's supposed to be, okay? So, but it needs to be an object. See how it's got the curlies here? So we need to pass in an object. And as we type, we can see number keys shows up here. Okay, so we're going to say number keys, colon. Actually, we don't have to do a colon because it's going to be number keys like that. Okay, because we're passing this into it. Okay, but because these two are the same name, we can get rid of the colon and the extra and just do number keys, comma. Okay, so then we're going to do operator keys, delete key, reset key, equals key, and then renderer, which we don't have. Okay, so above calculator we're going to create a, or actually we're going to just create it inline here. Okay, so we're going to say colon and create a arrow function there, and this will be our renderer. And we're going to essentially just recreate our render function here. We're going to expect that it will send us the values. So I'm going to expect an object with the current value, the previous value, and the operator. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my script.js, and I'm just going to copy what my render function was doing. Does that make sense? Okay, and then the next thing I would need to do, because this just sets up my calculator, right? Still not going to do anything. If I go look at my calculator and click the buttons, it hasn't changed. There's no errors, but it's because remember we made that init function in our calculator. I recall that as well. So I'm going to afterwards say calculator.init and call that function. And that will set up all my event listeners. Okay. Could have called it setup listeners, maybe. Good. Name's hard. That's the worst part. Naming is hard. Yes. Setup listenator. 3000 Okay, so now if you go, after you've done that, and click, should get some stuff, right?
Do you know why I, read out the line underneath
If you hover over it, what's it say?
Everyone else is getting it.
Could not find equal keys. Did you mean equal key? Yes, you did. So I think it's because you have the keys instead of key. It
It's
says
supposed to be
keys.
keys. Oh, all of them. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought it'd be okay. And the rest are keys?
Yeah, because it's a list of keys.
Oh, there you go. That. Set keys, equal key. All the keys. Number of keys. There's multiple keys.
Yes, all the keys.
Duh. Okay.
It's broke.
He's off today, the init function.
Your init function is broken. What's it say? It's broken with.
Is calculator.js and index.js.
It says cannot be properties of undefined meaning categories.
Well, mine is for each.
So if add event listener can't be accessed on one, then you have a spelling error probably in either the constructor. You're spelling this dot whatever differently than you're spelling it in your init function. So this dot number keys or this dot operator keys, or you spelled it differently when it came in than what you're passing in.
So like the delete key, reset key. Go to your index.js.
And then just make sure that all of these match up.
Those different ones, but they're both init.
Which one's the one that's put on the air?
So 27 and 26.
27.
So
Calculator
calculator
is.
is line 19, which is within my init function.
Let's just delete. So.
Yes, delete.
This.
Your left.
Was it?
The one in the map that always still the same. It's still the same. Why is it still the same?
So I did a console logging.
Number keys or numbers keys?
You put it underneath it.
But if it's not doing anything, it's probably, I did it inside of the handle and numbers.
Okay, it doesn't like this.
Doesn't like
I
which
have
part?
to change all of these. I think okay, got it.
Perfect.
In my calculator, yes, there's line 41, there's export default. I didn't
Just
finish
delete
that.
it.
Oh, I don't need that?
Didn't
Oh.
you do an export at the top?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we don't need the default
Okay,
export.
gotcha.
I was showing the different ways you could do export.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sandy, yours works? Mine's like logging because I put a log inside of the numbers, so if it's not throwing errors, then you're good.
Oh.
Good? Okay. Okay, so now we need to make it work again. Right? So now we have it all hooked up. So, and we already have all the functions. This should be fairly easy-ish. Famous last words. So what we want to do is our handled number function, we're just going to copy the interiors of it, okay, from our script.js and paste it in here, okay. But there are a couple of things we need to change. So current value doesn't exist right now, and render is this.renderer, okay. In fact, we probably want to call this.render instead, and I'll show you why. If we call this.renderer everywhere we were calling this.render, then we also have to pass in a renderer. We'd also have to pass in all the values,
Yes, yeah.
right?
So you put a this here too, well.
Yes.
Okay.
And hashtags.
Hashtag, there you go. Okay.
Okay, and so then we'd have to also pass in all those all the time. So I want to do that in one place so that I don't have an error somewhere in one of them and not in other ones. So I'm going to call this.render instead. And do hashtag render. So it's a private function. And I'm going to create that above handled number. This dot hash, or actually just hashtag render. Okay. And then this one we'll call this.renderer and pass it this dot, or I guess it's going to be current value colon this dot current value, okay, then previous value, and then operator, this dot operator. Okay. That way if I have to make a change, I only have to make a change in one place.
To render.
And these I'm also going to make private variables.
You mean like if you have to make a change to render?
Yeah, so if like for some reason we wanted to change the API of our render function to call the renderer with not an object or with different names for what the object has, like we just wanted it to be current and previous and operator. If I called this.renderer everywhere with passing everything, I'd have to go in each place and change it. But this way I only have one place. So if there's an issue calling the renderer, there's only one place I call the renderer, as opposed to multiple places. Okay, and then the other issue that's going to happen is this doesn't exist, right? We never created that on our class. So that's one of them. Everybody got this? We move on? Okay. So we need to create those. So I'm going to make them class variables. So at the top, I'm just going to do the current value equals string, previous value equals a string, and operator equals a string. Okay. Got it? All right, so now the other thing is we're using the current value down in this function, so we need it to be this dot current value. So now, hopefully, if you go back to your calculator, once you have those, then you should be able to click a button and get an error.
Awesome.
Cannot read private member current value from the object whose class did not declare it. What? Oh, I know what it is. Okay, so let's do console or return console.log this on handle number. Okay, so this is a fun thing to try and remember what it is all the time. So what do we think this is? We think it's the class, right? Okay, but what's happened is this has changed because we created an event listener. So now this is the button that was clicked. Okay.
Same HTML on the console.
Yeah, so if you go and click it, you'll see the button that was clicked is this, which is no longer the class, which means I don't have access to the parts within the class that are private, right? So what I need to do is I need to make it so that whenever you call this function, it's always bound to the class this. Okay, so I can do that in two places. I can either do it here where I call the function or where I set up this function, or I can do it in my constructor. Okay, so I'm going to do it up in the actually I'm going to do it where we call it, but I'll show you both places. I can either say this dot handle number dot equals this dot handle number dot bind this, okay, which is super annoying to have to do on all those, okay, or where I call it. So I would do that if I was going to call handle number over and over and over, right? Or because I'm calling it here and this is where it's getting rebound, I'm just going to bind this there, okay? But I'm going to do it on all these so that they don't get bound to the key.
So when you say bind, it's not binding for this to that?
It's binding the class this.
To the class.
Yep, so we're binding to the class this. Because within this function, I'm still within the class this, but once this event listener calls this function, then it has a different this that it binds it to. Okay? I'm gonna make it a little smaller so you can see the whole thing. Okay, so each of those functions dot bind to this. Now if you click the button, does it work? Oh yeah, because we have that console log. I'll get rid of my console log. Yeah, so I should get the number like I do. Only the number buttons, because we've only set up the number buttons.
Handle.
So now everyone take a break.
When I'm taking a break, I'm done. Finish copying.
Yes.
As soon as I'm done.
And then when you come back, start working on the other functions,
Okay.
because you already have all the functions for the for the buttons. So everybody implement their own buttons
Nice.
from their original script.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.